What's up guys, welcome back to Aquatic Elements. In today's video we are going to go through the Potamotrigon Stingray, otherwise known as the Black Diamond Stingray, the Pearl Stingray, the Albino Pearl Stingray. There are quite a few different species under the Potamotrigon genus, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about the care habits, feeding, housing, filtration, and last but not least we're going to be looking at some specific examples and talking a little bit more in depth about them towards the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. Firstly, in the monster fish mega tank behind me, it is looking a little bit cloudy as I've just done a water change. I have 3 Potamotrigon Stingrays. Now these consist of an albino pearl, another albino pearl, and an albino pearl crossed with a albino black diamond to form a albino hybrid stingray. Now I absolutely love these guys. They are named Lemon, Biscoff and White Chocolate Chip after pancake toppings, as they look like little water pancakes swimming around the aquarium. But first off, I'm going to start talking about the different care conditions you need for these species. So geographically, the Potamotrigon Stingray originates from the freshwater rivers and basins of South America, particularly in the Amazon, the Orinoco and the Paraguay river systems. Now, generally they are found in slow-moving rivers, streams or floodplains, and they are of a freshwater descendant fish. Now, originally all stingrays were saltwater, and it is believed that the Andes Mountains closed off an area, a large area of sea, and it actually slowly turned into a freshwater reservoir over hundreds or thousands of years, which slowly led these saltwater stingrays to adapt to freshwater, and that is how we actually have the freshwater stingrays in our hobby. Now in the wild they are found in these slow moving streams, and the general substrate is based of a muddy, sandy like bottom with also areas of pebbles and rocks as well. Now these environments do have a high level of organic material and leaf litter, which is composed of the leaves and surrounding plants of the rivers. Where the plant leaves and the plant material falls into the river, it breaks down forming tannic acid, which turns into tannins, and that gives the Amazon river basin that discolored brown tea-stained water. Now they do have a nice disc-shaped body, which is circular, as you can obviously see, with a tail that gets broader and rounder as the fish develops and gets larger. Now they do have some spikes to the tail, and they do have that venomous barb, which is used in defense. Now many people may think that they use this for an attacking weapon, but they do not. This is a defense weapon, and I haven't really heard of any instances in the aquarium hobby where a hobbyist has actually been stabbed by his or her own stingray. So if you are thinking of keeping one, I really wouldn't worry about potentially getting stung by your ray. You're not going to be handling it. The only maintenance you're doing is cleaning the aquarium, and you're really not going to come into contact with these fish. Now there are many different colours and styles to the Potamotrigon Stingrays, and we're going to be going on to that a little bit later. Probably in about 5 to 8 minutes we're going to be talking about the different varieties that you can keep and the different hybrids as well, and looking at the qualities they have. So make sure you stick around for that part of the video. They are a carnivorous fish, and they feed generally on small fish, invertebrates and mollusks in the wild. So if you can replicate that in the home aquarium, it's going to benefit them greatly, and they're going to put on lots of size and weight in your aquarium. Now the stingrays are generally a nocturnal species, but obviously keeping them in an aquarium, we have the lights on during the day and the lights out during the night, and we don't observe them in that night period so much as we are obviously sleeping. But the stingrays are normally really active in the day. Once they're settled into your aquarium, they're really active in the day, and you will get to see them swimming around your aquarium, but they definitely are very active in the night time looking for food. So if you haven't fed them in the day, your lights go out, you can still feed them at night, and they will find that food. They will search around in any substrate that you've got, and they will look for the different foods that you will be feeding them. Now I have mentioned about the substrate, and I would always recommend keeping your stingrays on a sand. A fine to medium coarse sand is going to be really good for them. It allows them to burrow under it. It allows them to feel safe and secure. However, on the flip side, a lot of hobbyists will keep them in a bare bottom aquarium, and this is obviously does have its benefits. It allows you to keep the water cleaner, allows to keep that water purer for the fish, and it allows hobbyists to give them a lot more food and sort of power feed them to grow them a little bit quicker than you probably would in a sand-based aquarium. So it's up to you to decide if you want to keep them in a substrate-based aquarium or a bare bottom tank. Now, they are sociable animals. I would say if you don't intend to breed them, and we will talk about breeding in just a moment, I would probably go for an all-male tank, which is what I have done with the Monster Fish Mega Tank. I've gone for one albino fish, which tend to stay smaller than the non-albino counterparts, and I've also gone for male fish, which stay smaller than the females. You will generally find that a male stingray will reach anywhere from 15 to 20 inches, whereas the females can easily reach 20, 24, even up to sort of 26, 28 inches across. Now, these are very, very big fish, so you will need a very large aquarium for them, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, if you do decide you want to breed your stingrays, you need to make sure you've got an adequate number of females to male ratio. I would recommend at least 2 females to every 1 male, and obviously increase that if you can and if you do have a suitable tank. Once males reach sexual maturity, they can be quite boisterous and they can attack your female rays, and they can be trying to breed with them constantly. So that's definitely something you've got to consider, and you may need to separate those rays from each other after they have bred to prevent further damage to them. Now, if you do plan to breed these fish, they can be very, very rewarding. Generally, the gestation period can vary, but it's typically around 3 to 4 months. So once your stingrays have mated, they will give birth to pups within a 3 to 4 month period, dependent on the species. And litters often vary from anywhere from 2 to up to 10 pups for very, very large female stingrays. Now, if you do decide to breed those stingrays, they are going to give a live birth to the pups, which is really, really awesome to see. And with most fish, they do lay the eggs, which are then fertilized and which then hatch. But you're actually getting a full live fish coming out of the stingrays, which is actually pretty incredible. Now, these stingrays will live for approximately 15 to 20 years in the wild, and in captivity their lifespans can vary dependent on housing and the conditions they're kept in, but most likely you'll be able to achieve that sort of those sort of numbers in captivity. And I did say that was sort of dependent on what size aquarium or filtration you have, which moves me on to that topic. Now, this tank I've got behind me is 3 foot front to back, is 2.5 feet tall, and is 8 feet long, which is around 420 US gallons. And I would say this is the minimum footprint you really want to be keeping your fish in. Now, definitely you can do an 8 by 2.5 by 2.5 feet, but I would say this is a nice size tank for 3 adult rays. As I mentioned, I've gone for males and albino males, so I reckon these guys are going to top out at anywhere between 14 to 16-ish inches, and they're going to have plenty of space. I may need to remove the bogwood to give them more footprint, but that is the rough dimensions I would go for. I would say anything under 1,000 litres is probably not going to be adequate for an adult fish, but these fish can take easily 2, 3, 4 years to reach a large size and to reach that mature size. So they can be kept in smaller tanks when they are younger. Something like a 7 by 3 by 2.5 or 7 by 3 by 2 is also going to be suitably sized, dependent on the number of fish you keep. And if you can obviously go bigger, that is definitely going to be better for them. Now, having a nice big filter is also very good for these stingrays. They are producing a huge amount of ammonia and urea in comparison to other fish species. So having a lot of biomedia is essential. I have 35 kilos of biomedia in this aquarium, consisting of Biohome, ceramic rings and alpha grog. And that does a great job at filtering this water biologically. And then I have some sponges and filter fleece to remove all of that mechanical dirt and detritus which is kept within the water. So we've spoken about the different types of stingrays, where they originally come from, how to look after them, and now it's time to talk about feeding, and then we can get on to looking at some specific individuals and talking about them, which may be a little bit more exciting. Now, I feed my fish mussels, prawns and squid, and occasionally they get bloodworms, but they absolutely love this. It's really high in protein. It is obviously a marine sourced food, so it's not a natural diet, but the fish I have in my aquarium are far from natural fish, and they have been captive bred through different generations. This marine food means that there's not going to be a cross-contamination in parasites or diseases, and it allows them to get a nice protein-rich diet. So we've talked about all the different levels to keeping the fish, the habitat, what you're going to feed them, and how to look after them. So now let's look at some specific individuals and talk about those in a bit more depth. So first off, I want to look at a slightly lower quality ray. We're going to talk about what to look for in selecting fish and go through a few different varieties that there are, and there are constantly being produced new different types of stingrays, new hybrids, which is really cool to see. So first up on the screen, as you can see next to me, we have a black diamond stingray. Now this is what I would say is a low quality fish. When you're selecting your black diamond stingray, if you choose to purchase one, you want to be looking at a fish that has nice uniformed spots all over the body. I personally would look for spots that are a little bit more white, a little bit more snow white in colour, and we're going to go on to some high quality fish in just a moment. But I would say this is a lower quality fish. It's a little bit messy with the pattern. The spots are faded, although these will change and these will get larger and develop as the fish gets older. It's always nice in choosing a nice high quality fish to grow out for your collection. Moving on, you can see next to me we have a black diamond hybrid stingray. Now the spots aren't that white colour that you would generally see. The first ray was a little bit more of a wild type with the smaller spots and then more sporadic spots, but this is more of a captive bred ray. Hopefully that makes sense. This is a fish that's not quite white in colour. It does have the nice dark background, but this is because it has been hybridized between two different stingrays to get that unique colour. Now personally, this isn't my cup of tea. I would prefer to see a fish with much whiter spots, but it'll be interesting to see how this fish grows and develops as it gets older. You will notice the spots are a bit more uniformed on this fish, and it does have more of that spotting pattern, which is what I would prefer to select for. Now you can see on the screen we have a really nice super white hybrid. Now this fish is actually from Top Stingrays UK, and you can really see the contrast in colour. We've gone up a few different levels now, and we're getting to some really high quality fish. Lovely white spotting, and the spots are a lot larger, which makes for a really nice appealing pattern. And in just a second we'll look at an even higher quality fish. You can really see how the breeders are developing, changing their generations, breeding different rays to produce these different patterns. And here we go, this is a super white stingray, a very high quality fish. You'll see that the base colour is a bit more grey, and as this fish grows, develops and gets larger, that's probably going to darken up in time. But you can see it's got some absolutely stunning white spots on it, really big spots as well, which make for a lovely contrasting pattern and an absolutely beautiful fish. We're now going to be looking at some more of the albino variants that are on the market and different albino fish that you can keep in your home aquarium. First up, we have an albino black diamond stingray. Exactly the same pattern, but just different colours. You're getting more of that yellowish gold to the spots and a nice snow white base. Really like this fish, and one of my fish is a hybrid of this and an albino pearl. And I would love to have an albino black diamond one day, a really striking pattern and an absolutely beautiful fish. Now we've moved on to an albino pearl, which isn't a normal albino pearl. You may notice this fish has a little bit more of a red hue to it, and that's because it's a red base. Sometimes they can often be called red Lucy stingrays, and you'll notice on this fish the pattern's slightly different. We're moving into more of a lined pattern, which is down to selective breeding that different breeders have produced in China, Taiwan, different areas of mainly Asia, but there are other breeders over Europe. But Asia is really trying to develop lots of new different styles of stingray, which are absolutely amazing and mind-blowing from the original standard Potamotrigon stingrays that are in the wild. But that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do have any questions, leave them down below. And if you do have any video suggestions, you can also leave those down below. Now, it is nearly the end of the year and I have so much planned for next year. So those of you who've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching it through. I've got loads of trips planned, and hopefully next year we're gonna have so much more content to give you guys and so much more exciting content. And I'm really excited to see what next year brings. But that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up and happy fish keeping.